Yo, did you I'm not sure if you into this shit or you watch these, but did you watch I know you be getting that shit on the bootlegs. Did you watch that Star Wars shit?
The new one?
Yeah, I ain't watched that shit yet.
No, I ain't watch it because me and my girl was watching all of them shits like chronological order and shit, and we made it all the way up to the one right before that.
Okay, y'all ain't watched y'all watched them all together like that?
I'm
This
waiting
girl
for a clear copy. But we watched we watched the chronological order, bro. That shit's crazy.
This dude was reviewing the shit. He said I watched all of them in chronological order and shit, and you know, it just felt like just to get prepared for this shit. And he said it just felt like a big letdown. I was like, wow. But they got another version. Yeah, they got another version coming out. The J.J. Abrams cut. Supposedly, there's a lot of bullshit going on over there because the chick that run this shit, Kathleen Kennedy, she's running Lucasfilm at Disney. She been, you know, she basically throwing feminism and identity politics and shit like that in the fucking movies, and people getting pissed off at it because, you know what I mean? It's like, why? You feel me?
I tell you what it.
Huh?
I tell you what it. And I'm on like episode 3 of that Mandalorian, nigga. That shit is tough.
Yeah, I'm about to start watching that because I saw a clip last night from the final episode, and I was like, man, I've been wanting to watch this shit for a minute. I'm about to watch this shit now because all the next Star Wars movies are supposed to take place way before the next Star Wars movies are supposed to take place before the original trilogy, before the prequels, like before all that, before Luke, Palpatine, and all them motherfuckers. And you know, the Mandalorians and the bounty hunters, they're actual race of people, so they've been out for a minute. They actually been. I was like, I didn't know that shit. You know, they got a bunch of.
Yeah, a lot of people thought this nigga was Boba Fett, and I'm like, didn't that nigga die and shit? So I'm like, nah, that ain't him.
No,
he's from the same fucking people and shit.
Yeah, because Yoda is a baby, but I think they said in the show, ain't he like 50 years old or something like that?
Oh, I didn't get to that point. To this point, at the point I'm at, they still think it's just a little baby and it's a kid and shit.
Yeah, so supposedly, like Yoda was like 500 or 600 years old or something before he died. I didn't even know that shit. But you know, there's a dude on the internet called Star Wars Explained, like on YouTube, and he basically goes into all of that shit. He'll sit back. It's kind of like the guy from Comics Explained. I'm not sure if you ever watched him, but if you ever wanted to know about anybody or any comic book storyline, this nigga will sit there and give you like a play-by-play of everything that happens in every single storyline, book, comic. This nigga got thousands of motherfucking videos of all kinds of shit. So if you ain't never caught up on some shit, more than likely he'll have it on his shit. Well, there's this one dude, he got his own joint called Star Wars Explained, and he does basically the same thing. So I
had to look up. I had to stop watching Mandalorian because I ain't know when the fuck it takes place.
Yeah,
it ain't got shit to do with the movies. Like, you won't miss shit if you don't see this shit, or if you do watch it, it ain't got nothing to do with them. But I still wanted to know when it takes place.
Right.
And, that shit takes place after Return of the Jedi and before Force Awakens. It happened during that time.
The Mandalorian?
Yeah.
No, they can't be. Yoda can't be a baby. There's no way Yoda's a baby and the Force Awakens, because Yoda.
That's what was throwing me off when I looked at it. I'm like, how the fuck is this even possible?
Yeah, no. Unless they really totally, like she said, like the one lady was like, yeah, we getting rid of Star Wars canon, but no, because there's no way. That's not even possible. It's not even possible.
Because Yoda died. Look, he died on that shit.
Right. So unless that's a different kid, but
that's what I'm saying.
In the clip,
that's the whole thing. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm thinking
but
like
they said no.
They
said no. He was found outside. He was almost the last of his race. But the one dude in the clip last night said. He was like, yeah, he could move things with his mind. And then the lady was like, the lady he was talking to, she was like, 'cause she looked like him. She had on a mask and stuff, whatever. And she was like, yeah, I heard of people like that. They've long been forgotten, you know, like the Jedi's. But everybody knew who the Jedi were. I mean, you figure, all right, when Palpatine in Episode 3 ordered was it Episode 3 when he ordered the Order 66 and he killed all the Jedi?
Was that?
Yeah.
I think it was.
Episode 3 when he killed all the Jedi. You figure Yoda was born and he died at the end of Return of the Jedi, okay? Because the Return of the Jedi and all that was basically a movie. Like, because if you don't watch the movies in sequence, you won't really know how the shit's going, like how it actually, like you be forgetting like how the order of events.
You be lost.
Right. The biggest,
like, what the fuck?
the biggest battle. Are you know how in real life we have like 200 BC and 2000 AD. Like it's like the birth of Christ for us is like that pivotal moment in human history where all history is judged before and after the birth of Christ. So everything before Christ's birth is BC, everything after is AD, right? Anno Domini. So in their world, in the Star Wars canon, everything that happens before the Battle of Yost, which is the battle in the movies, the big battle in the movies that ends up from episodes 4, 5, and 6, that's the big battles and shit. And then anything that happens after that, anything that happens before that is called BBY, and anything that happens before that is, I guess it's called AY, I'm not sure, like I have no idea how they call it, but so all the movies that are taking place now, like the episodes 7, 8, and 9, are from that point. And you know, people get mad, bro. They get mad about Palpatine and all that other shit like that, and all the ways they bringing this nigga back and everything like that, bruh. The people don't realize, like, George Lucas actually wrote all 9 stories before he made them into films. He just recorded 4, 5, and 6 first because he felt like for movies, and at the time they could do it like it wouldn't have costed as much money, and it was a very integral part of the story. So he started with, huh?
This shit was saying about the Mandalorian. It said it's not a prequel about Boba Fett, even though it takes place before Boba Fett falls into that fucking pit and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I don't get that, because that must not be Yoda then. That baby cannot be Yoda. They keep calling the baby
That's
Yoda.
what I'm saying, because it's right here. It says the Mandalorian is set after Return of the Jedi and before the Force Awakens.
But he fell on the jet, so it's one of those side things. It's one of those things on the side, because remember, in
yeah, like this shit was happening while all that shit was going on, but it wasn't like what, you know what I'm saying? It had nothing to do with Star Wars movies and shit.
Yeah, so you figure the Return of the Jedi took place about 20 years, 25 or 30 years after, the Return of the Jedi took about 25 to 30 years or so after what is that? After the Order 66 was cast. So after they killed all those Jedi, you could figure a couple decades that went by, and these motherfuckers don't know who people are and shit. You know what I'm saying? So maybe not even 20 years, because Luke looked like he was like late teens, early 20s when he first got found. But he could have just been like in his early 20s. You know what I mean? So
I think it was a teenager though at some point in the movie, bro. Something stuck out to me when I was watching the movie. I was like, oh wow, I've never even paid that no mind, even though I've seen this movie.
I mean, he was on the farm working with his family, but I think he was like.
It's right here. It say Return of the Jedi takes place in 4 ABY, which means that the Mandalorian takes place in the year of our Luke is 9 ABY, and the Force Awakens begins in 34 ABY.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. The Force Awakens, right? Because Leia's old as hell, Han is old as hell, so it's like and Luke is old as hell.
Exactly. I didn't even go this far down. And it says now, you're probably asking yourself another big question. How does all this affect Baby Yoda? Well, it means that the little guy isn't actually Yoda.
He's not.
If he is indeed 50 years old, as suggested in the as suggested in The Mandalorian, Baby Yoda was born when the actual Yoda was still alive.
So wait a minute. You said that when does the Force Awakens take place?
The Force Awakens it begins in 34 ABY.
It begins in 34 ABY, right? Which is after the Battle of Yavin, which is when Palpatine was killed.
Right.
Right. Okay. So then that means 34 ABY. That's 34 years later. 24. You got to figure it was like 50 or 60 years almost since all of the Jedi were killed, and the only Jedis that were left were Luke, technically Leia, because Leia was trained in the Force, like in the game The Force Unleashed. No, I'm not sure if it was The Force. But I think it was The Force Unleashed. You actually have to fight Leia because Darth Vader. It's either Leia or someone else, because Darth Vader, or you could play as Leia. The point is Leia is a Jedi, technically. You know what I mean? She's got the powers of the Force and shit. But so you figure.
Well, yeah, I figured that out. I figured that out through the movies. I'm like, oh shit, this bitch got the Force in her too.
Right, from watching The Force Awakens, right?
I actually seen her do some shit. You know what I'm saying? Which is on the newer movies.
What do you mean, from like The Force Awakens? You saw her say something? That's when you figured out, or you figured out from the old movies?
No, I figured out from the older movies, because he was like, when she was like, I could feel it and all of this shit. And I'm like, oh, this bitch got the Force. They talking about this.
She's Force. She was Force sensitive at that time. She just didn't have any training. What's his name? Finn, the black dude from the new movies. He's Force sensitive. There's like the only people that can wield lightsabers and use them the way they use them naturally like that are people who are Force sensitive. So they thinking that they're pissed. That's why another reason why a lot of people was pissed about the new movies, because at no point did they even continue to go down that route where they're sitting back. No point did they continue to go down that route where they're sitting there showing him with the Force, because everybody's like, yo, he's Force sensitive. That's like, let's see that happening. But nah, they decided to go with this bitch and made her all powerful. She can't be hurt, she can't be destroyed. She ain't get a scratch on her in any of the fucking movies. You feel me? Like, she didn't lose no arms, she didn't get run through, she didn't get nothing. She barely even got touched. Like, that's why everybody hates the character, because they call them Mary Sue's. When you got a character who's just absolutely perfect, can't do no wrong, and can't get hurt or anything like that, that's why they call them Mary Sue's. And people got pissed at that. It was like, yo, she's doing all this shit and she don't even have no training. Now, mind you, it's like based off of like what her bloodline is. She's that powerful, but everybody went through training. Every Jedi went through training before they could do all that. And you know what I mean? Before they can do all that shit, before you could do all this crazy nonsense, everybody went through training, and she barely went through any training, if any. And she's using lightsabers and shit like that, you know what I mean? But with Finn, everybody's like, yo, they was expecting them to show Finn like actually being, you know, doing something with the Force, because what they're thinking is, because they thinking that the Force is bloodlines, like everybody who's sensitive to the Force is basically because of bloodlines. Remember when Anakin, we was talking about Anakin and the midichlorians, they're high in his system, and his mom was like, I didn't even, you know, have sex with anybody. She was like, I didn't mate or be with anybody. I was with nobody. And then one day I wake up, I'm with child. I'm thinking to myself like, yeah, you got raped. Somebody touched you somebody slipped you a Mickey and touched you in the middle of the night, bitch. There's no way. But come to find out later on, they talk about that in the new movie. like how that could be. And this one girl was like, she was like, Palpatine, basically, he wanted to destroy, or he wanted to be the last Jedi, the last person to be able to use the Force. But I'm starting to realize that's not even possible. It's not even possible. Like, that shit goes across so many different species. It's not even that. I don't even know how he figured that. But he killed all them motherfuckers, man. So I can see why The Mandalorian, you said it takes place after Return of the Jedi. But before Boba Fett got eaten up in that thing, which technically they're kind of off. That's wrong. That can't be right. It can't be right. I can understand about the Baby Yoda thing, but that can't be right because the Return of the Jedi, that part was in the beginning of the movie. That was like, wasn't it? Wasn't that like one of the first scenes? Because not the first scene, but
what?
In the Return of the Jedi when they were at the sand pit and they were getting ready to throw Luke into the sand pit.
That's when I think that's when Luke went in there with the hood on and he was trying to save motherfucking
Right, so that was like
Han Solo.
Right, that was like right at the beginning. That was the beginning. And then not too long after that,
because he captured. Yeah, because she was captured. Leia was captured, and Han Solo was in the fucking, in that little thing they had him in and shit.
Yeah. Like that shit right there. That shit was like, and then the rest of the movie was basically took place with them on the fucking on Jakku with the Ewoks. Was it Jakku?
Yeah.
Jakku with the Ewoks, and also on the Death Star. So it was like between them three areas and shit. It wasn't like nothing crazy. So I don't get it. I don't understand how they even.
Another thing I don't get is this fucking Baby Yoda was born in all of this shit. How the fuck didn't motherfucker Yoda know this shit? You know what I mean? Like,
remember, Yoda was on that. When the Yoda died, at the end of The Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yeah, somewhere, right? I don't know he died in that movie. He didn't die at the end, but I don't know. He
died during the movie, during The Empire Strikes Back, because he was training Luke. So I can guarantee you, he probably knew, but he was on that swamp. That wasn't his home. That wasn't his home, was it? That wasn't his home planet. It wasn't his home planet, was it?
No, that wasn't his home planet. That's where he lived.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, bro. It is. There's a lot of shit that you sit there. I'm like, man, whatever, motherfucker. Whatever I get out of it, I'm just gonna fucking watch this shit. You're not gonna burn my fucking brain up with this shit.
Yeah, but The Mandalorian, that can't be Boba Fett, man. That'd be some bullshit if it was.
No, it's not. That's what they just said. That's what I was just telling you.
Okay, so if it takes place after Return of the Jedi, but before The Force Awakens, it's like caught there in the middle. I can dig it. So it was like almost 50.
Basically, without them making a movie of it or talking about the Mandalorian shit, basically was going on before he fucking died in that pit.
Right, well, they're a whole race. I can understand that. They're a whole race. Like, they're a whole race of people. You know what? I'm about to just say fuck it. Listen, I'm about to just say fuck it and go watch all the motherfucking episodes and binge watch that shit. But, nigga, I'm trying to make money. I've been trying to work on shit to get this money up, whatever. So, if that shit might take me some time, but I'm trying to get all it together because I've been doing, like, videos on YouTube, getting a lot of views talking about this shit, man. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to, like, keep that shit going, because, you know what I mean? Like, that shit's money, you know what I mean? Get a lot of subscribers and shit, that shit, man. You know what I mean? But anyway. But, I don't know. I'm hesitant to watch The Rise of Jedi for the simple fact of The Rise of Skywalker, because I was pissed at the...
Because I don't watch every last one of them motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I'm not saying I'm not going to watch it. I'm talking about I'm hesitant to watch that shit now. Like, I'm thinking about I might wait for a while to watch it, because I got pissed at what they did at the end, what they did in The Last Jedi, man. Like, they took that shit to a whole different direction. You know what I mean?
Know why? That's because these are the new motherfuckers, man. All this Luke and all that shit old school. That shit ain't happening no more, man.
They were part. It's not that it's old school, bro. They were part of stories 7, 8, and 9. So 7, 8, and 9 is supposed to ends the Skywalker saga, but it's the way they went about it. It's not about the fact that they're old and just. It's the way it's basically 7, 8, and 9 was
they
written.
Weaning them out, bro. They was just weaning them motherfuckers out, bro. They was just weaning out the old school without just cutting them off, and you like, what the fuck happened to him?
But everybody, listen. If it takes place 30, 40 some odd years after Return of the Jedi, if it takes place 30, 40 years after Return of the Jedi, all they have to do is say in the opening crawl when they have all the words, the resistance or the force, this, that, and the other, or this, that, and the other happened. You know, General Leia, this, that, and the other, Luke, this, that, and the other. People would have been okay with that. That's all they had to do, bro. All you had to do was just put it right in that opening title, in the opening words. That's it. And we were like, okay, Luke and Leia and all them, they done that. Everybody like that saga's over, cool. It's a whole new story. They didn't have to add them motherfuckers in there. They didn't have to put them in there. If they was going to do it the way they did it, they didn't have to put them in there, right? And it's been very disrespectful to a lot of people. And I'm not much of a. I mean, I know about Star Wars, but my whole thing is I can understand how it's been very disrespectful to people that are die-hard, like hardcore, die-hard fans. Like, it's disrespectful to them because they follow this shit and they watch it. Huh?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Exactly. And motherfuckers be in the movies like, oh man, or like that black dude in like he's like that black dude in The Last Dragon. That's that man, and there ain't no coming back.
Like motherfucking Samuel L. Jackson. Who the fuck is this guy?
I'm tired of these motherfuckers. I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. Like, I've been in the movie theaters, hear people going crazy and yell some shit like that in the movie theaters just to make people laugh, because there's a lot of motherfuckers in there that get mad about this shit, man. I've heard people say they were in the movie theaters when shit was happening during Rise of Skywalker. People was like, oh man, that's not possible. How the fuck she doing that? How the fuck that happened? Like, like the whole audience.
Because they want that whole. I mean, them diehard people looking for that whole storyline of like how Luke became. You know what I'm saying?
No, they know how Luke became. What they're looking for is for them to treat the storyline and the canon correctly. You know what I mean? Like what I realized what they try to do with the new Star Wars shit is they try to do what Marvel did with the comics. They figure they got all this. They figure they got all this back history, and they got all this. You got all the legends and shit like that. Like, oh man, it's snowing. They got all this back history. They got the legends and all that other shit like that. So what they figure is, what they doing was just picking and choosing what they wanted to throw in the movie, right? So they using the canon, but they just picking and choosing to create their own narrative, because that's what Marvel did.
They got the same canon, but different bullets.
Right, yeah. They're using the canon, they just not shooting the gun the same way. You feel me? They're not going. It's not a straight shoot for you. So they trying to do it like how Marvel did.
That's a nice gun. Put this on it though.
Make that shit gold. Make that shit gold. But yeah, And the thing with Marvel is, what they did was, they took little bits and aspects from their comics, and they made everything very close to what the comics had, but because they have so many different comics, with so many different continuities, and so many different lines and shit like that, you feel me? Like, they could not, they had all this shit together, they couldn't just make one movie that followed one storyline, and be able to give people every fan, because then every fan would be, there's so many fans of different versions of storylines in the Marvel universe. Like, oh, some people like 2099 Spider-Man more than they like the Amazing Spider-Man or Peter Parker Spider-Man, like those comic books continuities. Some people like the Superior Spider-Man, which is basically Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man's body. You feel me? So
yeah,
they had to figure out a way to touch down on all those different aspects and create a different show. And they did it, and it was smart. The way they did it was smart because everybody's like, yo, oh, they did this in the comics and they added this to the movies, but the movie isn't all about this comic book storyline. You can't do that with Star Wars. Star Wars doesn't have this diverse range of canon. Like, they got the movies and they got the comics and they got the games, right? Some of the games are canon, and they got the graphic novels, you know what I mean? And they got the expanded universe. So they touched on, they created this whole big universe and story, but everything still flows through the movies. So when they came out with this new set of movies, like I said, if they were going to do all of that, they should have just not even put Luke, Leia, and Han in the fucking movies. And then, what's her name dies before they finish filming the fucking third movie. And it's like, and they still got her in the movie though. So, you can imagine how that went over with people.
Pretty much.
Motherfuckers was not happy with that shit.
So I'm sitting here watching Mandalorian. I look up. And I'm like, what the fuck? Where the fuck they find Carl Weathers at, man?
I saw that. I saw him in the, he looked young as hell too, nigga. I saw him in that little clip. When I seen that nigga, I was like, oh, that's it. That's it. I'm going back. I'm gonna go watch. I gotta watch it now.
Man, every time I see that nigga, all I can think about is, it's all in the hit.
It's all no. Every time I see her, every time I see this motherfucker, I think about Action.
Thinking about Rocky. Every
time I see that, I think about Action Jackson, but not before I fuck her one last time. Or that shit. Or that shit.
When he's looking for Papa Duck.
How about the part when this nigga said at the end he was like how you like your crispy? He said how you like your chicken fried crispy or some shit. He said, what did he say? He burned that nigga up at the end.
Dumbass shit. One of them 80s action lines.
Oh, remember him? He was in that movie, in that show Street Justice back in the day, bro, with the white kid. Mm-hmm. That was my shit, man. I watched that shit faithfully because it was the only show on TV where they was doing some actual action in that shit. And they had some fucking, you know what I'm saying, like that. And what was that show back in the day? This was around the time they had like the Hercules, Legendary Journeys, and Xena, and they also had remember the old Superboy TV show back in the day, thing.
Yeah.
And then they had what was another TV show I was watching? Oh, Silk Stockings. I used to watch that shit like crazy.
Silk Stockings.
Yo, that show was dope, bro. Niggas was getting off. Motherfuckers was getting off in that show. And it was a lot of... I watched it because I was a little perv back then. They had nothing but chicks walking around in lingerie, bikinis, showing their body. Yo, USA was on some other shit, man. They had sex in the show and everything. I was like, they put this shit on TV?